Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Leïla, and on this channel I talk about personal development and my life here in Seoul, South Korea. Today's video is quite impromptu and not scripted like usual. It is something I really wanted to do because tomorrow I will be celebrating 3 years in Korea, and I thought to myself, what kind of topic should I do? Should I talk about, those 3 years? Should I talk about things that I love or hate about Korea? But then I figured, you know what, maybe I should tell you all about what I have been going through the past couple, I would say several months, in terms of my mindset, my life here, and my future. And I decided to name this video 5 reasons why I would be leaving Korea. Yeah, so if you are curious to know what those reasons are and ultimately what my decision is as far as what I'm going to do next year, then keep on watching. All right, so let's get started. I ranked them from 5 to 1, with 5 being the least important reason and number 1 being the most important reason. But what's interesting is that some of those reasons actually happened around the same time, which is February, March, therefore created a compound effect and just made me go, oh my God, like I really need to rethink this whole thing. All right, so let's get started with reason number 1, and that is visa matters. If you've been following me on this channel, you know that I have an E7 visa, which is basically the equivalent of a white-collar work visa here in Korea. And everything's going well. I mean, my company loves me. I love my company. It's a visa I have to renew every single year. Therefore, I'm not really worried about that. Like, as long as I still do a good job and as long as I'm still needed, which I am, everything's gonna be fine. Therefore, I don't have an issue in terms of renewing my visa or keeping my visa. The thing is, prior to coming to Korea, I was very meticulous with my plan. And again, if you've taken my Roadmap to Korea coaching program, I'm going to put a link in the description below. I teach people to be very strategic in terms of what they plan on doing in Korea if they want to stay long term. My plan was, I'm coming here as a student, I'm studying the language with a very specific visa. After that, I find a job, I start working, and I have this work visa. And then after that, I'm switching to my ultimate visa. So my entire plan, I had this ultimate visa in mind. And the idea was that by 2024, I would have all the requirements, the documents, going through all the programs in order to get there. The problem is, in February, I call immigration because I need more information, and the guy tells me, well, no, it's not happening in 2024 if you want to go that way, like you need 2 more years. And I said, why? He's like, well, you need 3 years with your current visa. And I told him, isn't it like 3 years in Korea? He's like, no, it's 3 years with a work visa. And that work visa, mind you, at the time, I had it for like a year and a couple months. So imagine my entire world just crashing down, because I've been balancing, like I enjoy my life, but I do work a certain way and I have to organize my life a certain way, and I do have to make sacrifices, which I do happily, again, because it goes towards my goal. So I'm very happy to make those sacrifices. However, I had a goalpost, like I had a finish line. And now you're pushing that finish line 2 more years without even asking me. And I was devastated. I remember I was like, during lunch break, I called during lunch break, and I went back to my desk thinking, what the hell just happened? And I go back and I look through the document and it was there. I just didn't pay attention to it. So it was totally my fault. And now I just started like questioning everything. So that would be one of the reasons why I would be leaving Korea. It's like, I don't intend to be an employee in this country my entire life. Like, I'm going to be very candid with you. If it was to be an employee, I would have stayed in America, because in America, in my field, when you are an employee, like I'm in sales, right? So therefore, it's just better. It's just corporate America is better. Corporate Korea is very stuffy, very limiting in terms of your earning, your potential, and everything else. So if it was to just be an employee, I would stay in America. I came here because I love Seoul and I want to live in Seoul, but my dream was never to be an employee my entire life. So when that visa I'm coveting, that's going to allow me to be more than an employee and do pretty much whatever I want, start my businesses and stuff like that, when you take that away from me, It's like you're taking my dream away from me, or at least you're pushing the goalpost 2 more years ahead. And I'm like, do I have the bandwidth for that? That's the question I ask myself. And that would be reason number 5. Let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to reason number 4, and that is the reality of starting a business in Korea. Again, I came to Korea knowing about the working culture and knowing pretty much what to expect, but I wasn't really aware of the other side of the coin when you are a business owner and how that feels like, I would say. When I started working for my agency, it's a service provider. We are service providers. When I started working there, I wasn't really involved with the day-to-day business or the other side of the business. I was pretty much just doing whatever was, given to me to do. But towards the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, I started being more involved in the day-to-day activity. I started going to meetings with clients. I started, just being more aware of the business side, not the creating side of the business, but the business side of the business. And my mind was just blown about the way Korean conduct business, especially service provider. It almost seems like when you are hired as a service provider by a client, it seems like the client feels like they know better than you do. Which begs the question, why are you hiring me then if you feel like you know better than I do? And it's almost like you have to insist on your expertise. You have to prove your expertise. They don't really let you do what you think is best for their business. They always want to, interject and do this and do that, which again, okay, whatever. Then there's this other side where you almost become a slave to your client, where the client wants you to be available whenever they feel like it. The client wants you to do this and that, and you almost have to appease the client and babysit the client and just be at the mercy of the client. And I just wasn't ready to witness that. And I thought to myself, geez, I'm an employee and I kind of feel that a little bit happening, when I observe the way my colleagues, my managers were dealing with stuff. And I'm like, what if I am the business owner? What if this is my company? I would be the one going out there and begging people and just basically just being a little puppy, trying to please my client. And I'm like, is this really something that I want to do? I don't know. I really don't know, because for me, the idea of being, and again, that could be very naive, but there's always this idea of, you're going to be your own boss. You're going to do things your own way. You're going to work with the clients that you want to work with. You're going to do things the way you want to do them. But then I realized that if I take that mindset, that very American mindset of doing business, and I bring it here in Korea and tell my client, hey, listen, you are not to text me on Sunday or on Saturday. You are not to text me after, business hours because, I have a life and I have a balance to maintain. Like, if you say that to a Korean client, they'll look at you like, okay, sure, bye. And they'll go work with someone else. So even if I want to do things my way, I have to adapt to the Korean way, because the Korean service providers who are going to be, my competitors, are going to just behave exactly like they're supposed to behave in this Korean environment, and they will leave me in the dust. So I would either have to adapt or get killed. And I'm like, so I'm going to leave a cushy job to be a service provider at the mercy of people who have almost no respect for me or whatever, or would treat me, however they see fit. Is that really going to be an interesting situation? Like, do I really like this working environment? It's just crazy how you can't just express yourself the way you want to. You just can't. You have to be very mindful and be very diplomatic and almost beg people to do things the way you believe things should be done. It's just insane. But anyway, so my business ideas was basically, providing services as well. So I'm thinking, if I'm in the service industry and I have to deal with clients that, make me jump through hoops, and as a business owner having to jump through those hoops to survive, I don't know if that's the kind of lifestyle I want to live. That's not really my idea of entrepreneurship. And again, maybe I need to rethink everything. But then again, that came to me also around that time, because around that time I started being more involved and my eyes just opened to the reality of the situation. So that would be reason number 4. Reason number 3 is a very sensitive topic for me because it's pertaining to Korean, the language. And I want to say, as a disclaimer, that the whole reason why I got interested in Korea in the first place was because of the language. Back in 2006, when I watched the Korean drama My Girl with Lee Da-hae, she was the main character, and just like watching her, listening to her made me go, oh my God, this is beautiful. And mind you, I had Korean friends before that, but they always like spoke French or, with me, so I never really heard them speak Korean. So that was like my very, very first time just hearing Korean and being completely in love with it. And that's also how I started learning it and blah, blah, blah. So long story short, Korean is the reason why I got into Korea. Korea is the reason why I went to Seoul the first time. And Seoul is the reason why I am here today. But my relationship with this language has gone through ups and downs. And it's a very sensitive topic because whenever I talk about it, it's not that people don't believe me. It's just such a weird thing. When I tell my friend about like my insecurities, like, yeah, but you're good. Like you speak Korean, like but they just don't understand that I don't speak it the way I want to speak it. And that is something I just can't get over. And it's almost like I have this very limiting mindset about it. I have perfectionism attached to it. I have this I'm never going to be good enough thing attached to it. It is, I believe today, the most insecure thing in my life right now, my speaking abilities. And mind you that I use Korean on a daily basis at work. However, I try to get away from talking in Korean, especially with my colleagues. If a colleague speaks English, bet you that I will never speak Korean with them. Whenever I have an occasion to bypass Korean and use English, I will do it. Why? Because I've always had this fear of like talking in Korean and making mistakes when I know I'm absolutely allowed to do that. Like I know I'm a foreigner. I know my Korean is not perfect. I know I'm going to make mistake. People know I'm going to make mistake. But it seems like I cannot accept that. Like unless I can form a perfect sentence, I don't want to talk. And this is something I've been battling with for a very long time. And I keep like trying to find ways, and then I find a way and I try doing it and I get excited and I give up and be fed up. And again, around that time, I was like, you know what? I want to be able to live in a country where I can express myself exactly the way I want. And this Korean thing is not allowing me to do that. Why am I doing this to myself? So the limiting belief around Korean is something that has been eating me a little bit. And yeah, it's a bother. It's something that bothers me. And I am trying to find ways about it, but it is hard. So I would put that as my reason number 3. Let's move on to reason number 2. Okay, reason number 2, I would put that under the umbrella of relationships and hobbies, I guess. So let's start with Kizomba. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I love Kizomba. Kizomba is a dance originally from Angola, and the French kind of took over and remixed it into urban keys. And it is something that I discovered back in Boston. I started taking classes, but because of COVID, I stopped. Then I moved to Korea, and a couple months later, I was made aware of a Kizomba community. I started taking classes here in Korea, and I just completely fell in love with it. Last year, I was able to go to France and dance Kizomba there, which was like completely next level. And then last year again in December, I went to Malaga in Spain for a festival, again, next level stuff. And then in March of this year, I went to Vietnam for another festival. And the love I have for this particular hobby is so overwhelming to a point where I want to be the best version of me possible. I don't want to just dance for the sake of dancing. I want to dance and be the best dancer I can be. And Korea is very limiting in that sense. Like I've taken classes with some of the very interesting teachers, I would say that. I learned as much as I could, but then when you are in classes with people with different levels, you get to a point where you stagnate. And I just didn't like that. I'm like, okay, well, if I stay here in Korea, it's not going to be very conducive to, me enjoying the Kizomba scene. And then if I stay in Korea and I only have 15 vacation days, when am I going to be able to attend festivals? Like, it's just tricky. So it's almost like Korea is going to hinder my progress in Kizomba, and that is something that bothers me. And it is something that's in the back of my mind. I'm thinking, okay, if I were to be in a different country, maybe with, more access to more people, more dancers, then my life would be better. I don't know. So that is something I had going on. And the funny thing is, in March, I was supposed to go to Vietnam for a festival. And because of my visa renewal taking longer, I almost missed this trip. So remember when I told you reason number 5 and reason number 4 happened around February and March? This whole trip also happened around that time, like me missing that trip. And I thought to myself, oh my God, Korea, if you make me miss this trip that I've been looking forward to so I can go and dance my life away, I am leaving you. So yeah, it also happened around that time, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing this to myself? I want to be able to go to whatever festival I want, and Korea is not allowing me to do that. And I was just like so pissed and so mad. But at the end of the day, God saved the day. The universe allowed me to go. So yeah, anyway, so Kizomba is one of the reasons. Still, in terms of relationship, I'm thinking about like my family, the fact that I miss them a lot. Okay, I gotta be more careful with this mic. I'm sorry about earlier. Anyway, so let's talk about relationships. And we're gonna do like family, and then we're gonna do romantic relationships. So when it comes to family, I miss my people. I miss my people a lot. And when it comes to the adults, it's okay because we all understand what's happening. People make choices, we can talk to each other, catch up, all that good stuff. But when it comes to the children, it's different because you don't get to see them, grow up and become human beings and individuals. And that's the part that I miss, is not being able to spend time with my nieces and my nephew. Now, granted, their parents are doing a very good job because they all know who Tati Leïla is. Like, they know that's like dad's sister. So I'm not worried about that. It's just like the idea of missing out of that kind of bothers me a little bit. And, but then again, my family is so all over the place. Like, I have family members in the US, in Africa, and in France. So if I decide to go on a family trip, and again, if I stay in Korea, I have 15 vacation days. So if I decide to go see my family, I have to literally pick and choose who I'm seeing. If I go to a specific country, then the people I see is very limited. And what I've been trying to do, like in September, I did, France and Africa. I saw my parents, I saw my grandmother, some of my uncles, and then 2 of my siblings. And then this year in May, I went to Miami, and I saw my bestie. Hi, Sasa. And then, my siblings as well, and my niece and nephew, which was great, right? But the idea of having to compartmentalize is kind of tedious. I want to be able to just like get up and go and see them, but I can't do that because I'm here in this country. And that annoys me. The second thing when it comes to relationship is romantic relationship. I've been in Korea for 3 years now, and I have never had a romantic relationship with a guy, whether foreigner or Korean. That has never happened. I've been on dates here and there, but that has never happened. And it's not very surprising knowing myself, because even back in America, like when I look back at like, let's say, late teenage year until today, I've never been the relationship kind of girl, meaning that, I go from one relationship to the next, to the next, to the next. I've actually had lots of time, apart from relationship, like couple years, 3 years, 4 years without being with someone. And that is not something that bothers me, because I feel like it could be my personality, it could be the fact that I'm an introvert, it could be the fact that I'm a projector, I have no idea. But I am content by myself, I am good by myself, I don't mind being alone. Therefore, having a relationship is not something I chase, it's something I receive as a gift. So if the gift is not there for me to size, then I'm not going to go out of my way for it. And that kind of justified the reason why I've been single, I believe. You know, you put COVID, you put my lack of trying too much or interest or whatever. Anyway, long story short, I don't have a significant other. Therefore, I can pack up and leave. Like, I won't be breaking someone's heart by saying, hey, I love you, but I gotta go. No, like if I had a relationship here with someone, then I would be staying, but I don't. Therefore, what's the point? All right, now reason number one. Reason number one would tie everything together. And reason number one would be the ability to be a digital nomad if I feel like it. And the truth of the matter is, I have a couple sources of income. This Korean job is just one of them. I do have the ability to quit my Korean job and travel around the world and still be able to make money and live a good life, right? But the reason why I'm not doing that is because I actually want to stay here. I want to stay in Korea. That's why I rooted myself here. But technically speaking, I don't have to. And when I started considering all those reasons I just mentioned, I thought to myself, you know what? Why don't we just like leave everything behind and be a digital nomad? If I do that, I'll be able to travel around the world and discover different cities and different cultures and have a good time. I will be able to see my family whenever I feel like it. I even will be able to travel with them if I feel like it. I would be able to attend any, Kizomba festival I want to attend and not have to worry about, missing work or asking someone else's opinion or authorization. I would be able to focus more on my creative ideas and my business ideas because, to be honest, I set up my way in a way that I set up my life in a way where I don't really have time for creative pursuits. My YouTube channel, like if you're a subscriber, when was my last video? Right? Like I don't have time for YouTube. I don't have time for like more content on Instagram. I don't have time to promote my Roadmap to Korea coaching program. I don't have time to do things that are creative and that belong to me. Why? Because I have to tend to all those other activities that are allowing me to stay in this country, allowing me to make very good money, allowing me to have a lifestyle that I enjoy, right? Which I don't mind, again, because it's all about balance, it's all about sacrifices and stuff. But if I become a digital nomad, it frees so much time, like not having to work this Korean job would free 30 hours, which means I'll have my morning and my afternoon to create, to focus on my own business and adventures and things that I want to start. So I told myself, you know what if you give yourself that chance to finally focus on those things on top of all the other advantages of just being a digital nomad? So that would be the number one reason why I would be leaving Korea, is to pursue that digital nomad lifestyle and have all the perks that come with it. Now, of course, I'm not naive. I know that being a digital nomad also comes with downsides. But then again, that's what I've been going through for the past couple months. I think it started in, was it like beginning of February, like mid-February until end of June, beginning of July. That's the mindset I was in. And I even started talking to my parents and some of my siblings and like few friends here and there, telling them, hey, this is the space I'm in right now. I am thinking about leaving this country. And I told them, the reason I just explained to you. And some of them were like sad. Some of them were like, oh, are you sure? But I was sure. Like I felt it in my heart that this is something that I needed to do. And then things changed. Things changed. Let's talk about that. Okay, so long story short, I decided I wasn't going to go. I wasn't going to leave in 2024. I actually have to renew my visa so my visa expires in January and my lease expires in February. and I have until October to make a decision. So I have to let my landlord know whether or not I renew it, and I have to let work know as well, because 3 months prior to your visa expiring, immigration sends you a document and say, hey, it's time for you to renew it. Therefore, I have to let my company know. So I was gonna wait until October to make a decision. However, I started planning the whole transition already. Like, I was making a list of countries I was gonna visit. I had all those, because I started 2023 with very specific goals. You remember, I have a video on that. And I even remember the party that I did with some friends, like working on our vision boards, etc. And at that time, I had no idea that I would want to leave Korea. So in March, beginning of April, I started shifting my plans. I started doing more research on, being a digital nomad, and started contacting people, getting information here and there. And my heart was really in it. I remember I had this moment. It was end of April, I believe. Was it mid-March? I need to go back to my journal. But there was this very specific weekend where I knew that, hey, this is what we're doing. We're leaving Korea, and we're being a digital nomad. I remember that vividly. And then time started, passing by, and then something very weird happened end of June, beginning of July, where my mindset, or I would say my heart, started changing. You see, I'm the person, happiness is my number one value. Happiness is very important to me. My happiness is very important to me. Therefore, I would never, ever hesitate doing what makes me happy. If today what makes me happy is to do XYZ, I will do XYZ. If tomorrow XYZ doesn't make me happy anymore and I need to do, A, B, and C, I will do A, B, and C. I have no problem changing courses as long as my instinct and my heart is in it, and as long as I know it's going to bring me happiness. So, what happened was something very gradual. I started seeing Seoul a very different way. And it started with Korean dramas. I don't watch Korean dramas anymore. I don't really have time. And my brother texted me and said, hey, there is this Korean drama I'm watching and you should give it a try. And my brothers do watch Korean dramas. So for them to for him to text me a very specific one and say, hey, go watch it. I'm like, okay, well, I'll go watch it. It was that celebrity Korean drama. I don't know if you guys remember. And I started watching the drama. It was a cool drama, right? But what really got me when I started watching this drama was seeing the people life in the drama, the everyday life, them walking down Seoul street and doing things that people do in Seoul. And I'm like, hey, this is my life. You used to be in Boston watching Korean dramas and wondering when will you ever be walking down those streets and doing those things, and now you're here doing that. Do you realize it? And I started falling back in love with Seoul by watching this drama. And I even started the King drama, the one with Yuna from Girls' Generation. I kind of stopped because it got super boring. I don't know. I don't do romantic dramas anymore. They just get very boring. But anyway, at the very beginning of the drama, it was very interesting, and I was looking at her life and her friend's life and their daily struggle, and it just gave me that feeling I had back in Boston watching Korean dramas and thinking, oh my God, I would like to live in Seoul so much. And I started having that feeling again, which felt weird because I am in Seoul. And then another thing is, when you take the bus in Korea, especially at night, sometimes the bus will take you from one place to another, and it will take 40 minutes or so. And I would sit in the bus and just watch the scenery. Seoul at night was just so beautiful. And I'm looking at the buildings and the monuments and the people walking down the streets, and I'm I don't know, there was just this feeling of extreme gratitude and oh my God, I love it here so much. What are you doing, kind of thing. And I started journaling about it, because that's how I process my emotions, and that's how I my decision-making process. I try not to think too much. I try to feel as much as I can. And I just realized that the reason why I wanted to leave Korea were earthy reason, ego-related reason, practical reason. And then I realized that the reason why I wanted to still stay here were more divine reasons, feeling related reasons. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. Some of you might think I'm just like gone crazy, but I just realized that, you know what? No. I don't think, are we doing that? I don't think we're doing that. Like I love Seoul so much. I don't want to do it. No, I don't think I want to do it. I don't think I want to do it. And then my mind started like changing a little bit. And then I had a friend coming to visit, a friend who loves Korea a lot. Like ever since she left, she came back like 3 times, I think. And she and I like spent a lot of time together. We even went to Jeju Island on vacation. And to see someone who loves Seoul also as much as I do, and who, you know, doesn't hesitate to come back and have a good time here, just made me appreciate how much, you know, how lucky I was to actually be here and live here when, you know, others might be or might not be that interested in. But the privilege, you know, the privilege of the lifestyle that I was able to carve for myself, and to think, you want to throw that all away? And it's not even about sunk cost. You know, the sunk cost is the idea of I've invested so much, I don't want to give up now, even if it sucks. This is not it. This is not it. Like, I would give it up if it makes me happy to do so. So it's not sunk cost. It's more like overwhelming sense of gratitude, thinking, geez, like you've already like kind of made it. Like you're good. You know, look at all those ego related reasons. These are like things that can be easily fixed. Like, what are you doing? And then I think the part that convinced me that I actually didn't want to leave this country was the subtle shift that happened with Korean, the language. Do you know how like before I was forcing myself to do things, forcing myself to try new method? I found myself just genuinely gravitating towards being more comfortable with it in expressing myself, being more open with it. Like I remember when I went to Jeju Island, I wasn't thinking too much. I was just like speaking Korean whenever I had the opportunity to do that, which is something that almost don't usually happen with me. But in Jeju, I was just like, you know what? F that. If I need to speak Korean, I'll speak Korean, like even if like, you know, and I was just like so free. And I thought to myself, well, you can do it. Like, why is this limiting belief? Like, why are you doing this to yourself? Anyway, so, and then I found myself like wanting to read more Korean stuff, and I discovered a nice way, which is like manhwa, you know, those webtoon. I just out of the blue contacted friends and say, hey, do you have like webtoon you want to recommend? And I got a list of like more than 10 and I started reading them. And you know, these are like very short stories that you can read in the subway or in a bus, and then it allows you to not only learn new vocabulary but like entertain yourself. And the conversations are like very day-to-day, you know, fun basic stuff, and you learn how to word things a certain way. And I just found like so much pleasure in it, and I'm like, and then a very good friend of mine was like, hey, you and I, we need to like, you know, do some sort of a language exchange, you know, where you can help me with my English and I help you with your Korean. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually a very good idea. And so the moment I decided that, you know what, I am going to work on this limiting belief concerning Korean, I started like getting those opportunities left and right of people like wanting to just help me with it. And I'm like, good. Anyway, so I kind of like rambled like 9 minutes on this thing. But here's what I'm going to do, like how I'm going to mitigate those, you know, those reasons why I don't want to stay in Korea. So this is how I'm thinking about not fixing the situation, but finding ways around the situation. So let's talk about that. Okay, this is the most exciting part because it comes down to figuring out what I want to do and have all those goals and those ideas and get organized and get hyped up. So I spent this weekend. So this weekend was a weekend I decided I wasn't going to do anything. I wasn't going to go anywhere. I was just going to stay home and focus on this new path that I'm forging ahead. So yesterday I kind of sat down and worked on my plan for the remaining of the year. My plan of like basically just staying in Korea. And so this whole digital nomad thingy, I mean, I still have the spreadsheet and all the information. It's still there. I'm going to leave it there. But I decided again to shift back to a perspective of me staying here in Korea and what I intend to do for the next 5 months ahead. So I worked on that yesterday. It was absolutely exciting. This is just the kind of stuff that just gets me very motivated and hyped up. Anyway, so let's go back to the issues that I mentioned at the beginning of the video and how I intend to take care of them. So the problem number 5 was my visa situation. So it turns out that in terms of this particular visa, there is an exception to the rule. Why am I doing the heart sign? Anyway, so there's an exception to the rule when it comes to this particular visa I'm aiming for. And for that exception to happen, I have to wait until the end of this year to see whether or not I qualify. And it is something that I have absolutely no say. There's nothing I can do personally to make that happen. It is just something the universe is just either going to deliver or not deliver. But I would have to wait until the end of this year to see if I qualify. And if I do qualify for that exception, then I can move forward with my plan. But again, I have no idea. So my mindset when it comes to that is twofold. If it happens, perfect. We're just gonna continue and do things the way we're supposed to do. If it doesn't happen, then that's fine. I am just going to keep on keeping on and wait for 2 more years. Well, by that time, it'll just be 1 more year, right? So just putting things back into perspective. So that would be for the visa situation. The other issue I mentioned was in terms of like business. When it comes to that, it's again twofold. It's either I adapt and I do what needs to be done, or I just change the kind of business I want to get into. It doesn't have to be a service related business. I can try to think about something else. Also, I can pick my customers. They don't have to be Koreans. I could be working with people in America or across the world. It doesn't really matter at this point, right? So I'm going to give myself time to think about that, but there are options. I don't have to necessarily be a service provider in the marketing industry in Korea. I can do something else if I feel like this kind of business environment is not something that I want to dive into. Another thing was Kizomba. Kizomba, again, very important to me. The solution that I found is something I started, I think, a month ago, was to find someone to train with. And they aren't, well, when it comes to Kizomba, we all have like a very specific style that we like. The style I like might not be what another girl like, right? So my style, the person who dances the way I want to dance, there aren't many of them. But there's this one particular person who is top notch, like so good. The thing is, we did not run in the same circle. He had his own community that I wasn't really part of. So I danced with him like maybe once or twice or 3 times. But there was this one instance I danced with him back in September, and it was just so freaking good. I remember telling my friend, oh my God, I need to get in touch with this guy. Like, he needs to teach me. Like, I cannot do random classes anymore. Like, I need someone to help me get to the next level. I was having dinner with that, and I manifested that shit. You know how? We had dinner, and then 2 weeks later, it was my birthday. And what do I get as a happy birthday message? That guy texted me, because on Kakao Talk, we have like community groups. And I guess it was my birthday. Someone wished me happy birthday, and a couple people wished me happy birthday. And I guess he saw my profile. He clicked on it and he sent me a message. It was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but we danced that very specific, at that party. I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun. I haven't felt like that in such a long time. And I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Like, do you know what I've been feeling and how I've been wanting to manifest you in my life? No, that was so amazing. That happened, I think, back in November. Anyway, long story short, him and we become friends. He invites me to his class. I took 2 classes with him. And then I realized, again, like, he's a very good teacher, but his students just didn't really have my level. Therefore, I was like, yeah, this is not going to be very helpful. But he was my friend now. Therefore, when he went to parties, he would let me know and we would dance together, etc. But I decided, you know what, I am going to ask him. I'm going to ask him, hey, do you want to train with me? Can you offer me private lessons? And you know what? God say, ask and you shall receive, or was it Jesus? I don't know. And I asked and I received. And he was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, I could do it for free. And I'm like, no. I don't want it for free. I want to pay you because I respect your art. I respect your, expertise. I respect the hard work you put into it. Long story short, every month, twice a month, so every 2 weeks, we meet for 2 hours and we dance together. And so he trains me, helps me improve. I mean, I'm just having like the best Kizomba time of my life here in Korea thanks to this person, and I can see how I am improving, and I get to pick the songs that I want to dance on. Well, I'm gonna start doing that starting next time. But yeah, so I think I found the way to handle this aspect of my hobby. Like, I now have someone who's as passionate as I am, who's willing to help me, like, grow as a dancer, and who has time to dedicate to my, to improving my skills. So I'm very, very, very blessed, and I'm so glad. And also we have foreign teachers that are coming here and there, so I try to also participate. It's money, but again, I'm like, this is my passion, this makes me happy, so let's do it. Okay, now relationship wise, I told you I'm not in a relationship right now, and I'm like, you know what, maybe I should just put myself out there. So I went back on dating apps. There's only one dating app I'm using, and that's Bumble. I went and opened up my profile again, and I am going to go into it with positivity and hoping that on the other side I'm going to be able to meet someone who wants the same thing that I want, have this kind of a same vision of what I have, and build something together. So I'm going with this with a very open mind, and the reason why I did that is because there is someone I follow on Instagram. Her name is Glow Graphics on Instagram, and she found love on a dating app, and she started talking about it, and I really love her. I love her content. She kind of like shift her content from travel to personal development, and then from personal development to love related stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of attitude to have. Like, if you feel like dating app sucks, dating people sucks, and that men are trash, then it's not gonna work, right? But if you go into it with a mindset of, oh, I am going to be able to meet that wonderful man who is going to be a wonderful partner, then the universe shall deliver, right? So I'm back on dating apps. I'm excited. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it's like, yeah. But I'm excited about it, and I can't wait to see how that's gonna pan out. What else? Oh, family. Because I'm staying in Korea, I'm thinking about finally doing this thing I've always wanted to do, which is to invite my family over to Korea, and so that we can all spend time together, and I can show them around and show them the reason why I love Seoul so much and Korea as a whole so much. So we're thinking maybe we could do something in the spring, because that's like the best season to visit Korea. So hopefully, if I'm able to put that together and have like my parents and my siblings and my niece and nephew come, that would be so amazing. So that would be my plan. And then obviously next year, with my 15 vacation days, I am going to go to a Kizomba festival. I am going to do a family vacation, and then the third one, I don't know what kind of trip it's going to be, but yeah, I'm going to make sure I prioritize those two things, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, so, and then the Korean part, like I said, with my friend, we're going to start this upcoming week doing this language exchange thing, and she's like very invested in me, just like getting over this hurdle of speaking Korean. She's like even more invested than I am, and I really, really, really appreciate that. So we're going to do something together in that department, and of course I said, I'm going to start reading more stuff. Like, I have ideas, but I'm not going to like talk about it now. I am going to implement them the next month, and if I feel like it's working and I love it, I'm going to make an entire video to help anybody out there who speaks Korean or knows Korean but has trouble taking it to the next level. I'll make a video for you guys and on those tips that I've used, but I need to go through the process first before I come back and report, right? Because that's how it's supposed to be. Like, I need to embody the thing first before I come and talk about it. So yeah, we'll do that. I think that's it. Oh, content creation. The interesting thing is this video was not scripted at all. Like, not the way I usually do. I just went with the flow. And it felt so good. Like, what time is it? it hasn't even been 2 hours. But usually I would take like 3 hours to like film a video, but this time around I'm not, because I just allow myself to just talk and talk and talk. Now I'm gonna see the end product at the end and see if, you know, but the idea of me just like stepping in front of the camera and just talking to you and not having to worry so much about the structure and just let the flow of the conversation go is something that's going to be very helpful in the future. Because the reason also why I haven't been able to create content so much is because I think about like the scripting of the video and all that. Like I have all those ideas, but it's always the scripting of the video that just makes me super lazy. And I'm like, you know what, I don't have enough time. I'd rather use my time and like go out there and have fun with my friends instead of doing this. So that has really put a dent on my productivity when it comes to video making. But this is proof that I actually don't need to script that much, that I can just talk. So maybe with this new mindset, I'll be able to produce more content. We'll see. We will see. All right. Okay. So if you've watched all the way until the end, I thank you very much for this. That was just me catching up with you and telling you what's going on with my life. I know it's like lots of rambling, lots of personal stuff, but I hope that somewhere in there you'll find some gems that are going to help you in your own personal journey as well. I, again, thank you for watching and take very good care of yourselves, and you will see me in the next video. Bye.